So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into this insightful action-packed day with an address from our guest of honor. I'd like you to please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Manjunath Ji, Additional Labour Commissioner, Industrial Relations, Government of Karnataka, to share his insights on transforming labour policies to meet the evolving workforce needs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Dr. Manjunath Ji to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I have a brief presentation to be made to this august gathering, not necessarily on techniques of talent acquisition, but what do you do after acquiring that talent? What happens to that talent once you have recruited? Because the title given to me is Transforming Labour Policies to Meet the Evolving Workforce Needs. Transforming labour policies is the function of the needs of the employers, the needs of the employees, and the societal needs. When you are trying to look for talent, what is most important is to understand what exactly is the characteristics of the workforce. I have just listed there. As we go on, I will try to explain some of the basic features of the workforce in India. The composition of today's workforce, its diversity, educational attainments. What are the numbers that you are looking at? How many are active in the job market? How many are seeking jobs for passion, livelihoods, or just to attain certain achievements? How do you tap the demographic dividend that we have in this country? Skills, I'll talk about that after some time. You should also have an understanding as to what is formal and informal sector, since 8 to 10% of the workforce, only 8 to 10% are in the formal sector, who are called salaried or regular or wage workers. The rest are all in the informal sector. So when you are looking for a talent acquisition, you should understand whether you are looking into the formal sector or informal sector. I'll talk about that in a short while from now. The most important factor is, as you are all aware of it, what are the features of Generation Z? What type of people are there available in the society? What are you looking at? What are their features is very important. And of course the education and employment scenario, not just literacy, employability, but also scope for innovation and also STEM capabilities. Job market, its structures and outcomes, requirement and capability, diverse occupations that are available and things like that. And one thing is assured, we have reached the end of permanent jobs. There isn't any permanent job available globally. You should also focus on labor market and its institutions, labor market dynamics, labor enforcement agencies. It could be trade unions, employee collectives, workers' solidarity, transnational labor organizations, civil societies, and NGO activism. All these are very important in terms of understanding the job market. Next. What are the needs of the employers whom you serve as your clients? What do they seek? Are they seeking productivity versus loyalty? Are they seeking shareholder value versus human rights and business ethics? What about the impact of ease of doing business and reduction in compliance structure? We should also have an understanding about the large segment of self-employed and also micro entrepreneurs. Among the 500 million workforce, 50% are involved in self-entrepreneurship. They are called own account workers. What are their needs? 60% of the establishments in this country are having less than 10 employees. Industries and factories having less than 100 are very few or more in number than 1,000 employees like that. So what are the expectations of employees from the employees, the government and the society, and also MSME sector and job requirements? These are the days where you also have platforms and aggregators, as we call, and what are their issues. So needs of the employees are very important when you take up this talent acquisition. Next. Oh, I should change, sorry. What are the new age workforce needs? What are their needs? Are they seeking flexibility and also job security? Are they seeking income security? What are the minimum applicable labor standards and social standards? Social security protection. There is also tendency among the workforce to seek more involvement of the government to fund the social security schemes. Do they opt for more freedom at work and choice? They also wish to be in the work collectives, that is trade unions, but that is not enough. As you can see, there is a decline in trade unions in the organized sector, but increase in the informal sector. What about, are they also thinking about reduced working hours and work-life balance? Everyday newspapers are talking about the working hours and also the stress-related issues, which we can discuss later on. So keeping this as a backdrop, how has labor policies transformed themselves? I, being in the Department of Labor, can I have some water to drink, please? I am more into policy prescriptions and also regulation. This is my job in the Department of Labor. So how has labor policies and labor laws transformed itself? You must have an overview of all this, because if you don't understand how labor policies have evolved over a period of time and what would be the future of labor laws, future of work and future of talent, in order to understand this, I have just made 4 or 5 parts of labor transformation. One is pre-independence era, where most of the labor laws are all colonial period passed by the British Raj. The second would be post-independence period, especially after the India gained independence and the Constitution of India, the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy, where we have a fundamental right to form unions, and also collective bargaining issues, occupational safety and health and social security issues are prescribed in the Constitution of India. Post-globalization, we have sector-specific labor laws, and more so after globalization, there is increase in the informal sector. So specific laws trying to address the workers of the unorganized sector came into force during post-globalization and the present new forms of employment and the regulatory patterns. So the trends in the new forms of employment could be the report by National Commission for Enterprises in Unorganized Sector, brought out in 2007 and 8, and the second National Commission on Labor, where there was massive labor law reforms suggested in 2002, and finally the emergence of algorithmic management and control, especially employee surveillance and automated decision-making systems, and how the law is now evolving to ensure that there is transparency in the management by algorithms. So next would be the future of work. What would be the future of work? The AI threat, increasing vulnerability, intensive clash between capitalism and working class, increasing inequality. So they'll have to ask a question whether there is any future for work and what would be the course of your talent acquisitions. Recent developments in labor laws, I would like to share with you the response of the state and the trending labor policies within India, and also the law passed by the Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. As you are all aware, 29 labor laws have been now grouped, amended and brought into 4 labor codes. Code on wages, code on industrial relations, occupational safety and health, and code on social security. I think extensive workshops I have conducted on all these 4 labor codes throughout India. I think I must have trained about 1 lakh HR managers on these 4 labor codes. So most of the PowerPoints that I have done on 4 labor codes is available in my website. Any one of you can go and see what are all these labor codes. So the labor codes would have a new regime of labor regulation and governance. The latest that we brought out in Karnataka is the Karnataka Motor Transport and Other Allied Worker Social Security Act, passed by the State Assembly in 2020-24. This is basically to provide social security to motor transport and all other allied workers working in this sector. We have around 43 lakh workers working under motor transport and other allied workers, so we have provided social security for them. And very recently also we have now a bill for Karnataka platform-based gig workers social security bill 2024 for the emerging gig economy and mushrooming of gig workers in the economy to provide social security for these platform-based gig workers. So the other also is about the recent law that we tried to bring in, which was drafted by me, the Karnataka State Employment of Local Candidates in the Industries, Factories and Other Establishments Bill 2024. I will not get into the detail because it is with the Cabinet Subcommittee. Maybe you can have a debate on that later on during the coffee time. And the other important thing which is not there on the slide, I didn't change. Oh, please tell me I'm not changing. You could have changed it, no? Okay. The other important discussions which is going on in the state of Karnataka is about the working hours. Working hours is a debatable issue, as you have seen in the latest news, as to what should be the maximum hours that anybody can work, whether in the organized or unorganized. Now that we have amended Factories Act, making overtime 60 hours, and India is one of the country with highest number of working hours anywhere in India. And the question is, why should we really toil so much, and what is that we are trying to do in increasing the working hours, whether it could be in the IT sector or even in the unorganized sector. So these are some of the recent developments in the labor laws which I wanted to bring to your notice. Questions to be asked and answered, maybe over a period of one day. You should be deliberating not necessarily on talent acquisitions, but also on some of the very pertinent issues surrounding that talent. How has labor policies and labor laws transformed or reformed during the past several decades? What are the trends observed in the workforce today? What are the needs of the employers in the present economic growth, which I was trying to explain earlier? Does the present talent pool and talent acquisition strategies and methods suffice the government's aim of reaching $5 trillion economy? What will be the future when we try to understand and balance sustainable development goals versus ESG perspectives, whether we are able to balance between these issues? Some basic data about the workforce. India has a labor workforce of around 59.37 crores, almost close to 600 million. So I saw that when there is a talent acquisition, there is a microscope. How do you look for a diamond among 600 million workers? It's a great challenge for you. So around 600 million people. Then some of the important issues are 32% of women are in the labor force. It is slowly increasing. Female labor force participation, which had declined during COVID, and 18.3% of the workers are in the unpaid jobs, unpaid workers, and casual laborers are around 21.8%. Regular wages or salaried workers are only 20.9% in this country. As I told you, female labor force participation is increasing. Now it is 37%, and Indian economy needs to generate nearly 78.51 lakhs jobs annually in the non-farm sector, that is in manufacturing, services and things like that. How are we faring in skills? You are all aware of this. This is very, very important. New sectors are emerging like solar power, electric vehicles, semiconductors. So these are all the emerging sectors where we need updated skilled labor. And according to TeamLead's report, though there are over 500 million Indians in the working age, 1 out of 2 are not employable, which you are aware of. And also if you could go through the National Employability Report, 80% of Indian engineers don't possess the required skills. And you can go through the India Skills Report 2023 for details. Coming back to a small understanding about formal and informal sector, when you are trying to hunt for the talent, you should understand what economy are you serving, whether formal or informal. Formal sector is unstoppable, unbreakable, but still it contributes 50% of the GDP. More jobs are created in the informal sector. Even formal sector is vulnerable, moving towards informality. There are more work pressures, work stress, working hours in the IT and other sectors rather than in the construction or any other thing. So social security protections would become a great challenge. Over 3 to 5% of the workforce in the informal sector are skilled. So huge scope for skilling in this country. As you know that Skilling India and Make in India initiatives are a great success, but labor productivity is just 2.53%, lowest when compared across various countries. So hence the focus should be more on investing in human capital, talent and skill diversification. So I will not, I'm aware that there are a galaxy of speakers after me. So I think you're all aware about the Generation Z workers, what are their characteristics. You have to watch for these characters when you hire talent, because you all hire somebody for a talent, but you fire them for their misconduct and misbehavior. So what is most important is organizational behavior. I am very happy that there is also a professor from IIM taking 2 classes on conducting workshops on that issues. So most important would be when you are looking for talent, you fail to observe the behavioral pattern, or whether he is going to have how do you gauge his misconduct later on. So these are all the general characteristics, features of the Generation Z, which you will have to keep in your mind when you try to hire or when you try to go ahead with your talent acquisitions. Current scenario, what is the current scenario in the labor market? What is the type of jobs that are available? Modern employers in manufacturing also and also in service sector seek workforce suiting their business models. What are those? Some of the models: engaging extensive contract labor, called contractualization of labor. Well, you can go ahead, there is nothing wrong. You can engage contract labor provided you comply with the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act. Women labor, feminization of labor is an old concept, and now that there are more women entering into the labor force. Migrant labor, I have coined this word whether you like it or not. I am calling it as migrantizing workforce. So it is for the first time I am using this term you will not find in economic literature. So more of migrants being engaged both in the manufacturing and service sector. So then obviously there is going to be a lot of issues and discussions and debate about the migrant labor versus sons of the soil theory, and there can be some social unrest also perhaps. So fixed term employment is a concept which is very popular among the recruiters. Then comes the gig and platform workers, platforms, Uberization of labor, as you know. And post-COVID, the issue globally is increasing and emerging deficits in decent labor framework, non-standards employment, and also vulnerabilities that the workers are facing in the modern day economy. So further, employers and businesses are also strongly propagating neoliberal capitalist ideas, pushing for reforms, if not abandonment, in labor regulation and reduction in compliance structure under labor laws, which is making workforce very vulnerable and insecure. So this is the transition of labor laws. The paper presentation will be given to you. I will not go through the details of the transition because it takes a lot of time, and only thing is you should understand how the pre-independence era, even before we got independence, there was a stress on weekly holidays, which we are now talking about. Weekly Holidays Act was passed in 1942, and Payment of Wages Act came much before Minimum Wages Act. That means timely payment of wages is a very, very important component. So these are some of the very important issues which came before the independence. Did I? No, I didn't. Somebody should, my resource person should come and stand here and move the PPT. You are sitting very leisurely, my dear. Post-independence, we have lot of legislations during post-independence. A list is given, nothing much to discuss about, you are all aware of it. Just a list of the legislations which was passed post-independence. Post-globalization, very important. After 1992, there was more vulnerabilities in the labor market. There was more of informal sector. Construction industry was growing like anything. So the problems faced by the construction workers was very huge. Then there was this act called Building and Other Construction Workers in 1996. Besides that, there was also Karnataka Industries Facilitations Act passed in 2002. And then we have NAREGA, then the Unorganized Worker Social Security Act came after globalization, 2008. And then we also had Karnataka Daily Wage Employees Welfare Act, and finally the POSH Act 2013. So these are all the legislations which came post globalizations. Coming to new forms of employment and response, the code on wages, I mentioned all the 4 labor codes. There is also Ministry of Road Transport giving you the guidelines for the aggregators involved in transportation. And also we have now, we were not having the Data Protection Act. We have now Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, which is very important, and very recently Karnataka has brought out these 2 legislations. So to conclude, you hire talent, don't you? And you fire that talent for misbehavior and misconduct. So that means behavioral issues becomes very, very important in any workplace. So how do you ensure that the particular employee is committed, and how do you ensure that he serves the organization is a very, very important criteria. Thank you very much for your undivided attention and your patience, and thank you the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share some of the thoughts. It's very, very difficult. For the first time I'm attending a program of recruiters. So usually I talk to HR managers and others, but for the first time I've been addressing an audience like this. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much.